Dr. Anna. This video is on mental health, which is an important part of life as we cannot function without it. Just as we want healthy bodies, we also want our minds and our brains to function well. Just as illness can make our bodies sick, illness can affect our brains and our minds, and we can have a mental disorder. Worldwide, about 13% of the global population, or about 971 million people, are diagnosed with mental illness. In the US, about 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 6 youths experience a mental disorder each year. With the pandemic, the demand for mental health care has skyrocketed. The impact of the coronavirus on stress, social isolation, jobs, financial security, childcare, and even death has taken an enormous toll on all of us. This is a time to be mindful of our mental health, so we can weather through challenges with a healthy brain and a sound mind. Let's start with a definition of mental illness. Illness, of course, means a disorder or a sickness. Mental means that it involves the mind or the brain. As heart disease is an illness of the heart, ulcer is an illness of the stomach, mental disorder is a disorder of the brain. The sickness can affect one's thoughts, mood, and behavior. Mental illness are health conditions affecting how one thinks, feels, and acts. Usually, when a person has a mental illness, one experiences problems in thinking, like difficulty concentrating, emotional distress, and impaired functioning. Where does mental illness come from? From research, we now know that one cause is heredity. Just as we inherit eye color and hair color from our parents, we also inherit genes for mental illness from our family tree. Sometimes these genes lie dormant, meaning they don't do anything, and we go through life without any symptom of mental disorder. However, when there's a severe stressor, like divorce, death of a loved one, job loss, or serious impact from this pandemic, the stress can activate the gene and mental illness symptoms can begin. Once the symptoms start, a person can experience a mental disorder. What are some warning signs of mental illness? If you consistently feel sad for over 2 weeks, if you have a sudden overwhelming fear for no reason, if you see or hear things that other people do not, or if you experience drastic changes in mood, behavior, or sleep pattern, then it is important to get an assessment with a mental health professional. It is common for mental disorders to have physical manifestations also, including racing heart, difficulty breathing, trembling, fatigue, headaches, appetite issues, and sleep problems. If any of these symptoms are consistent and don't go away, please talk with your medical doctor. Your physician may refer you to a mental health professional. Some commonly known mental disorders include major depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and psychosis such as schizophrenia. When symptoms of mental illness begin, the neural circuits in the brain which regulate thinking, mood, and behavior do not function properly. Neurotransmitters, or chemicals used by nerve cells to communicate, are out of balance. So, mental disorders have a physical component. They are physical illnesses located in the brain. Here are PET scans, or brain scans, of a normal person on the left and of a depressed individual on the right. There are a lot more yellow and bright colors in the normal brain in comparison to dark colors in the depressed brain. The darker colors indicate that there is not enough metabolic activity like blood flow and chemical processes such that the brain is not functioning well. For a long time, mental illness has been the invisible disease, whereas we can easily see physical symptoms from medical ailments like a broken leg. We cannot see physical signs of mental illness. This invisibility has been a cause of stigma or a negative discriminatory attitude about mental illness. Many times, people with mental disorders are seen as being weak, less intelligent, incompetent, or faking it. They have been told that it is all in their head and they should just get over it. However, now with brain imaging, we can see that mental illness are brain disorders. There is something physically different in the brain of those suffering with mental illness. Mental disorders do not distinguish between the strong and weak, the smart and less intelligent, and those with a stronger or lesser faith. According to research, nearly 1 in 4 pastors, or 23%, acknowledged that they have personally struggled with mental illness. Also, John Nash, the brilliant mathematician who received the Nobel Prize in Economics, had schizophrenia. The truth is that mental illness affects all people, regardless of intelligence, faith, or competence. Another misconception about people with mental illness is that they're dangerous and violent. The truth is that most people with mental disorders are not dangerous, and most acts of violence are committed by folks who are not mentally ill. Only 3 to 5% of violent acts are attributable to persons with serious mental illness. Almost all of them were done by those who are not being treated, many of whom also abuse drugs and alcohol. In fact, people with severe mental disorders are over 10 times more likely to be victims of violent crimes than the general population. The good news is, with proper treatment, people with mental illness are able to manage illness symptoms and live productive and fulfilling lives. Depending on the type of mental disorder and severity, effective treatment may include talk therapy, psychotropic medication, or both. Here is a brain scan of a depressed brain and the same brain after treatment. Notice that the bright colors have returned, meaning that the brain has regained proper functioning. With proper treatment, up to 65% of people with severe mental illness attain recovery. This means that for those with less severe symptoms, the recovery rate is even higher. If you or someone you know has developed mental illness symptoms, please do not hesitate to talk with a mental health professional. The sooner the treatment, the higher the chances are for recovery. It is my hope and prayer that you will have a fulfilling life with good mental health. As a Christian, I believe that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him. Romans 8:28, and all things include mental disorders. So, no matter what happens in a believer's life in regard to mental illness, God will work for the good of His children. With any kind of illness, we can always turn to Jesus, for He is the great healer. Finally, be encouraged by the Bible promise in Jeremiah 30:17. I will restore health to you, and I will heal you of your wounds, says the Lord.